We know from going to Fashion Week and stuff that there are a number of designers that watch our channel, well-known, quite famous fashion designers that do watch our channel, that now it is time to give everybody some feedback. I promise to not be overly mean on purpose. Hi, y'all. How are you? Love you all a bunch. Hopefully no one takes this super personally. My intention here is not to hurt anybody's feelings. Promise to not waste your time. Let's get right into it. Daniela and I always really enjoy thinking about designers, watching the analyses that we put together about your shows and being like, wow, they really understand me. And like a lone tear moves down their cheek. That fantasy makes me very happy. But what does not make me feel happy is thinking about that designer on their phone for pretty much any other reason. Let me put it like this. You are the creative lead of a company that you are either taking on great financial risk by starting, or you are the creative lead of a heritage global luxury brand. And in either of those cases, what the fuck are you doing on TikTok? Are we deep enough to say, okay.
Well, I'd hope.
And I do not care, by the way, if you are the creative director of a small global luxury brand that shows at one of the 4 major fashion weeks. You should not be spending your time doing what every other fucking person alive is spending their time doing. This does not produce the kind of results that wow people. You sitting like this does not produce the kind of things that brings about new inspiration. This is so crazy that this actually was said to me. I was interviewing a designer and they said to me, the biggest thing that I've been inspired by in a long time is like this idea of, and then they started talking about this really niche thing in design that they were really interested in. They started elaborating on it in all these different ways. And I was like, wow, that is really interesting. Huh, that's so crazy. Yeah, I guess I've never thought about that. And then later, a couple weeks later, I was navigating on Netflix to try to find a movie that Danielle and I wanted to watch to see if it was on Netflix. And I saw that what they were talking about was literally just them talking about a documentary that was the #1 documentary on Netflix that month. How is that not embarrassing to you? You are just consuming the exact same algo slop as 40 million other people are watching this. I do not understand what would make a fashion designer put on their explorer's hat and go plunge into the jungle that is the median of society.
Last I checked, you are not in the business of making the median of clothes.
That is so true. I'm not like, the whole video is not just gonna be me like freaking out or whatever, but like you need to stay in your lane. Your brain and your process can be swayed by anything. I'm sorry, you don't get rot time at night. You must be extremely focused on making sure that what is going into your mind is effective for making the best ideas on earth. Other people get tired after work and they need to like unwind, and so they go back to the addiction of their phone. Find another job. If you really cannot break free of that, you need to find another job. And I can definitely hear people already kind of in the comments saying things like, oh, well, I actually think it's great that designers kind of understand like what everybody's thinking about and sort of like what is everybody seeing, and that way they can effectively like respond to culture and stuff. Well, it is my professional opinion that is not good for their process at all, ever. Your sole job is to have otherworldly ideas, because guys, frankly, what the fuck would you be paying $1,200 for a button-up shirt for? Why the designers would need to understand about like Labubus or Dubai chocolate or gooning is beyond me. Like I think the gooning they might be figuring out like all on their own with no external influence, I bet. As long as it's analog pornography, oh my God, then I'm happy. In case you are not aware, to the majority of people out there, the fast fashion stuff is great. They are happy to go to Shein and Boohoo Man or whatever the fuck and just buy the clothes that'll cover their body and make it where they're not naked. They all are pretty much okay with it. In order to justify something from a company that is going to charge as much as your companies are charging, it had better be from somebody who is so disconnected from reality that you can barely hold a normal conversation with them. And I honestly, I don't want to hear about work-life balance for this. Frankly, if you are a fashion designer or you want to be a fashion designer, you are training for the fucking Olympics. And frankly, yeah, with Olympians, it's like if you want work-life balance, you got to go get a regular job. No one is making you do this. And it is not our responsibility that you get to have slop time on your phone, because I feel like really that's going to be the thing that most people get offended by in this. There are just frankly a lot of people who are willing to put in the work and the sacrifice in order to get the job that you already have or the job that you want, and that might include staying off their phone to keep the vision pure. You should not be looking at other designers' work. Inspiration should not come from anything that you are seeing on Instagram. Pinterest is not research, obviously. And if you have not already gotten on the path to doing those three things, you are already very behind and you should be panicked about it. Speaking of research, it is astonishing to me how little the fashion designers that I speak to know about the basics of the construction of clothes. If you are a fashion designer, I should be able to ask you, name 5 kinds of cuffs, and you should be able to answer that. Shouldn't be a big deal. And I suspect that most designers don't know what this kind of cuff is called. Knowing those things is a fundamental part of your job. So in service to that, I'm now going to say something that I think you and I have been wondering if we should take a hard stance on for a couple of years, and I'm ready to take the stance now. Grow up and learn to sew. There's this quote from Lucien Pagès. I can't remember exactly what it was. I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, there are a lot of young people in Paris who would rather start a brand than to just apply for jobs. And it sucks because this is not everybody. Daniela and I think, have garnered a solid reputation for championing a lot of young designers, many of whom we have championed from their very first season. We believe in those designers and we support their work. I am absolutely not coming for all young fashion designers or fashion students or whatever. But I mean, yeah, there just are a lot of people who just think that they can have a brand because they're just a cool, hot young person. And it's also not my business to put designers through an examination process to see how good they are at sewing. But it has been the case in the 12 Paris Fashion Weeks that we have been to, where I will be in the room with a designer and they are explaining to me their collection, their collection that hopefully will further their company and further their career. And it is very clear to me this person does not know how to sew, and they have not sought out any specialized help. They have not hired an excellent pattern cutter. They have not hired an excellent sample maker. They've just kind of thrown it together, and they expect other people to give their time and attention to this thing here in the room. I am so sorry that the reality is like this. In the same way that I am not owed the time of anyone on YouTube. YouTube, the company, does not owe me a damn thing. They lose money on most YouTubers because of server space. I know what it is like to feel like no one is paying attention to me, and people should pay attention to me. I know what that feeling is. Folks, no one owes you anything. If you do not have the skills as a sewist, you must hire not a sewist that will take a very small amount of money from you. You must hire an excellent sewist. You must hire an excellent pattern cutter, an excellent sample maker. If you do not have the funding to do those things, you must learn it yourself, or this is not for you. And I 100% want to clarify here, if you are sewing because you just love to sew and you like making things for people in your family or for your friends or whatever, or you just like making badass cut up t-shirts for your homies, please keep doing that. I am absolutely not trying to discourage anyone. I am
We're also not talking about you in this.
Yeah, 100%. This is only geared at people who are on a level where they're going and showing in London, showing in Paris, showing in New York. When you do not know how to sew, and you cannot hire anyone to make up for your lack of skill, that means that you cannot take on custom commissions from celebrities. You cannot take on custom bridal work, some of the more lucrative parts that would make it where you could actually have enough cash flow so that you could get your brand flowing more. What that means is that at the core of your company, you have nothing to offer people. It is not a fashion brand. It is a really terrible art project. I can tell you for certain that the young people that are being hired at these houses that have these incredible design jobs, not the one who walks out at the end and everyone's applauding for, the people who get hired onto these design teams, they are there because they know how to make things.
Be like, I get that this is fashion, but you can't just look hot and be cool.
That is an incredible point. And to everyone sitting at home who's like, no one really thinks that. Yes, they unfortunately do. I mean, wait, Maximilian Davis, who we excitedly get to see in Milan here pretty soon for the first time. I cannot wait. I've wanted to see Maximilian Davis's stuff for years. Do you know how Maximilian Davis got hired at Ferragamo? He got that job because he's been sewing since he was like 7 years old. He has been making things his entire life. It's just not going to work for a fashion designer that doesn't know how to make product. Before we go to Fashion Week, Danielle and I put a big blast out where it's like, tell us about your showroom, tell us about your show. Even if you're off calendar, we want to hear about it. We look at all of those requests. We go to your website. You guys would be shocked at how many of these fashion designers have no product on their websites. Nothing. In case you have forgotten, your job is to design fashion and then sell it to people. And I'm sorry if e-com is hard. I know that boutiques right now are not buying anything. I understand that the entire industry is really difficult right now. Selling clothes, e-com, getting into boutiques, figuring out how to import and export things, that is the foundation of your company. I want to respectfully and with love ask so many people, what are you showing? Why? Why are you showing? What is the point of begging all of these journalists and influencers and buyers and celebrities to try to get as many of them to your show as possible when you have no intention of making or selling any of these clothes? If anyone is in favor of avant-garde solutions to things, it is us. We are incredible advocates of young designers who have very bold, new visions of things and who do not go about things in unorthodox ways. We have promoted Ire for years at this point. That is a brand that just doesn't do jersey. They don't make t-shirts.
Milk of Lime is another really good example of this, I would say.
Milk of Lime is an incredible brand that has a very different vision for how they want to do things. And you know what? Milk of Lime, both of those designers, you could blindfold them and they could make clothes. We talk to an enormous amount of creative young people, and I keep hearing people talking about wanting to be creative directors. That apparently a lot of schools offer this as like a major now. They've built a major for people who want to go the creative director route. And I don't know what jobs y'all are looking at in the future. There are fewer open positions for the kind of CD roles that you want than there are open positions at the NBA this year. And that actually moves us into another point that we really wanted to make here. Sorry, nobody's gonna like this one. Fashion designers need to learn numbers. There is no way that you can successfully run a fashion brand if you do not intimately know what's going on with that company. And frankly, you either care enough about being a successful fashion designer that you will learn to do that, or you just don't care enough. There is this bizarre perception in fashion that some magic business owner is going to come into your life and be like, sweetheart, don't worry about any of that. You just go listen to Frank Ocean and create your beautiful things. There is no version of life in 2026 that includes this. You must learn what accounting means. You must be able to do your taxes correctly. You must know what kind of business your business needs to be registered as. How would you run a company? I don't understand how you think you could run a company if you don't know everything about cash flow when you are manufacturing things. If you are just spending money randomly, if you do not understand cash flow, if you do not know how to strategically set up your business, I say it with love, how the fuck do you get the perception that you are going to make it doing this? You are actively choosing to operate at not maximum capacity. And by the way, there is, to be super frank with people, because I have been told this in confidence by a number of different fashion designers, I have a trust that has about $7.5 million in it. Honey, that trust will be gone in 4 years easy. It does not matter how much money is in the little trust that your dad set up for you. You have a limited budget, and you need to learn how to use that budget to the absolute maximum. I mean, I am a business owner that more than anybody else wishes that that magical person would come out of nowhere and just be like, oh, you and Daniela just read your books and watch your shows and listen to music and just sort of write whatever comes to mind and I'll take care of everything. I want that to be a reality more than maybe any other person alive. It doesn't work like that for anybody. And I'm not even manufacturing anything. I have very little overhead compared to what you are working with. We get asked for advice a lot from young people. Usually the age group for these people are like they're finishing up high school or they're finishing up college and they're like, I want to become a fashion designer. That's the ultimate goal. What do I need to do to get to that place? And at this point, not a soul wants to hear this, but you need to get a master's of business. It sucks. Nobody likes that. Most people want to go to Parsons and go get a degree where they get to look at cool pictures and make mood boards and like do cool photo shoots with their friends and just be creative. I think at this point, if you want the advantage and you really want to make this happen, you need to go get a master's of business. And while you are doing that, you need to teach yourself technique heavy sewing, like at the same time, unfortunately. You are training. I am so sorry. This is the reality. People want this information should be talked about more often. People go into this thinking that it's just sort of like, oh yeah, it's this equal opportunity thing and everyone is so creative and everyone is having fun. It's not. You are training for the fucking Olympics. You have to grow up. You have to go get an MBA. You have to force yourself to learn the sewing machine every night for 2.5, 3 hours. You have to essentially not have a life at all. You should not get married during this period. You are essentially going through medical school. You have to figure out how to make this happen. People want to know this stuff, but they don't. No one likes saying it because it sucks. It makes you sound like a bad guy. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but this shit is hard. And I have seen people literally like ruin their fucking... I've had like 2 friends where like there's been 2 people so far where like we were really good friends with these people and they were fashion designers and then they lost like their life got ruined doing this because they thought that the stuff that was in this trust that was very generous from their parents was going to be enough to just kind of like float them and that they'd be able to make their dream come true and stuff. And they really are in a bad place right now. You need to understand what you are getting into. Do not go into $80,000 of credit card debt because you just believe that like if you can just make it to Paris Fashion Week, stuff will work out. It won't. You have to have some sort of plan going into this. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just take a second, please. Okay. Your boy gets kind of emotional and there was some other stuff that happened with that situation that was pretty shitty, very sad stuff that is not anybody's business. But yeah, I was not crying because someone lost a bunch of money. It's some other stuff too. Lastly, back to the creative directors of global conglomerated houses. Y'all have got to do something about these prices. I get that you are a creative director. I get that it is not your final call. You must advocate for some of these prices to be lower. And sometimes that means that you've got to figure out how to make a more competitive product. In order for it to be competitive, that might just mean in some situations that it just needs to be better. I certainly would not want you to go find some like luxurious way of dealing with really cheap cotton or something. Like you need to remain a luxury company. There's got to be a way for the heads to get a hold of your serious clothing items without it costing $15,000. The prices have to be lower. Frankly, all of the luxury companies have equally contributed to these prices getting hiked up. And I get that there is like an arms race kind of with the prices where no one wants to be known as like the affordable luxury brand. I understand that. And I also believe that that is true. But a few brands, it has now been reported, pushed those prices so high, they kept testing the waters higher and higher until they had to, rather embarrassingly, re-lower their prices all at once because they had completely left the demand for their product. Daniela put this brilliantly the other week when we were driving. If you are having to hike up prices in order to meet quarterly stock market expectations, that is not what a luxury company does. That is what McDonald's does. I remember one time on Essence, if you went to the women's section and you just sorted price high to low for everything, the very top product was like a $18,000 dress by Versace that was unadorned and made completely of viscose. I like Versace fine. Versace's a cool company, I guess. I don't have any beef with Versace at all. What the fuck is that about? Is an unadorned viscose dress? They just wanted to be the most expensive thing on Essence. Again, y'all, it's not just Versace. There are lots of companies that do this. They just want, what's the most expensive thing on Mr. Porter? If it is like some hand-done, insane, like leather, full body, whatever, like, sure, yeah, there's gonna be a most expensive thing on all these websites. And there probably are lots of things that are the most expensive that should be the most expensive. The viscose dress with like a print on it that's cut in a certain way, come on, guys. You're a luxury company. Nobody is confused about this. Sell the product for what it's worth at a luxury price point, and don't just try to push it. If the product's not good enough to be in a luxury price point, make the product better. This is all just, I feel like this should be really obvious stuff. Imran Ahmed, the head of business of fashion, a man who is, I think his company is partly owned by LVMH. He is strongly incentivized to thumbs up everything that the whole industry is doing all the time. And he literally went on record recently saying something must be done about these prices. I want y'all to sell the clothes, and I want you to sell the clothes to people that actually want the clothes. The people that watch our channel do want these clothes. And a lot of them have just given up entirely on the idea of ever owning anything even secondhand by you guys because those prices, they're getting so freaked out by the sticker shock of those prices. Just make it where normal people can save up for a long time and then go get something special. And let's be fair, I'm not saying that all the prices need to be super low. I honestly don't care if y'all charge crazy quantities of money for t-shirts and cosmetics and all the entry level items. I get that you can't be a luxury company and be selling things for $50. I totally understand that. What I'm wanting is for the heads, the people that watch this channel usually are people that will go buy that specialty cardigan that you made, that you this will only be for 11 people in the whole world would actually care about this. The super specific coat, the super specific shoes. There are people that actually want to buy those things. And they can't because they cost $12,000. Just make it so that the heads can buy things at a somewhat reasonable price. Save up for a few months and go get something special. If you are one of the people that we hold a microphone up to at Paris Fashion Week or Milan Fashion Week, and you watch the whole video, I'm really appreciative of your time. I hope you know that we really value what you do a lot, and we put a great deal of time into covering your work. And if you're a fashion designer that we haven't covered before, I'd love to hear about your personal experience in the industry and what it's like running a company or working for a major house. We'd also love to cover your brand. Reach out to us. Show us what you do. And you know what? You can do it. If any of the stuff that I just said, especially the stuff about the really hard work and the unfun stuff, if any of that stuff sounded scary to you, you can do it. You can change yourself. And especially if you look at something and go, that is too big for me. If you get in a special fear about no, that specifically, that thing is that one thing, that is the thing that you can do. And if it's not fashion, that's okay too. Go find the thing that you're meant to do. You can really do it. If you ever need advice about that, my DMs are always open. And hey, go join the Patreon. The whole thing about this channel is that we use our expertise to offer a lot of excellent products that is behind that paywall. You get a lot of exclusive videos, including unedited, just the entire transcript of interviews that we conduct with fashion designers from all over the world who are absolutely incredible at what they do.
Notably behind the Patreon paywall is Marina Yee's last video interview before her passing.
Yeah, Antwerp 6, one of the greatest from the Antwerp 6, Marina Yee, who passed away in 2025. We have the only long-form video interview ever conducted with Marina Yee, and it's a good one. She says some awesome things. She's a teacher. by trade. And so she had some especially inspiring things to say that I think are very important for a lot of people to hear. Along with like a million other things. We offer a lot of exclusive content. It's actually pretty sweet. You like get on there and there's just like dozens and dozens of hours of like excellent stuff to watch. I'm so tired now. I need to go pass out. Love y'all. See you soon.